Hello students, this is Professor Faiz Raut from Jain College of Engineering, Department of MBA. This is a small video on Managerial Economics 20 MBA 12. In this video, I'll be discussing regarding the squeezees model of oligopoly, that is King demand curve model. Okay, this is about oligopoly firm where there are very few sellers and very huge number of buyers. Okay, obviously, and this few numbers of sellers in oligopoly market are selling homogeneous products, so their products and services are more or less the same. So any of the firm cannot do any change in prices because the other firms are there who are the competitors of that firm, and they will try to take the customers from the firm who is altering its prices. So it's very difficult for the firm to alter any prices, and the firm in turn stick to the prices of all the remaining firms. So how this has happened, it is explained in the King demand curve model. So in order to analyze the effects of possible reactions of the rival firms on the demand for the product of the firm initiating the change in price, we make this following assumptions. So there are three assumptions which are mentioned. First is there are four oligopoly firms A, B, C and D. Well, it doesn't matter there are four or five or three, but there are very few firms. That's what the first assumption says. Second assumption is the market demand is divided between the firms and all the firms face a uniform demand curve. That means no firm has a huge market share. All the four firms have a kind of a uniform demand curve, and market is divided almost equally between all these firms. The third assumption says all the firms are in equilibrium at a point of time, and all are maximizing their profit. All are trying to maximize their profits. So these are the assumptions of the squeezees model of oligopoly. Along with these assumptions, now I'll explain the graph in the next slide, which is called as the King demand curve model. So in our graph, there are two axes. The x-axis represents the quantity, y-axis represents price and cost, and this is our origin O. And we have, or these four firms have, the price P, which is also called as the equilibrium price. At this price all the four firms are selling their products. Okay, so as it is mentioned, there are four companies or four firms A, B, C and D. We are going to analyze what happens when the firm A changes the price, what the rival firms B, C and D will do. Okay, so going with the first one, reaction 1. In reaction 1, it says when firm A increases or decreases its price, the rival firms follow the suit. That means if firm A increases its price, then the firm B, C, D, all the three firms will also increase the price. That means they'll do exactly the same thing which the firm A is doing. And also on the other side, if firm A decreases the price of its products, all the other three firms B, C and D will also reduce the price of their products. So in this case, in this scenario, when the firm A will find itself moving along the demand curve MN, okay, and while moving along this demand curve, the firm A will not lose anything but not gain also anything. Okay, so this is about the reaction 1. Now let us see what is reaction 2 says all about. In reaction 2, if the rival firms do not react to the price changes made by the firm A, what will happen? This is the firm A which is increasing the prices, and this is the price of B, C and D firm, which is exactly the same. The B, C and D firms are not increasing their prices. They are keeping the price same. And on the other hand, if firm A reduces the prices, the price of B, C and D remains the same. That means whatever the firm A is doing, B, C and D firms are not reacting to it. So in this case, what will happen in the first case, if price of A increases and price of B, C and D remain same, the consumers who are the customers of A, of the firm A, will now shift to firm B, C and D as the price have risen. And in the second case, if firm A reduces the prices and B, C and D do not reduce the price, then customers from B, C and D will shift to firm A as firm A has reduced the price. So because of this, the firm A will find itself moving along the demand curve DD dash. In the first case, in the first DP curve, first part of the curve DD dash, which is DP, the firm A has increased the price of its product and it has lost the customers. And in the second part of the demand curve, which is PD dash, the firm A has reduced the price of the product and the other firms have not reduced. So firm A is gaining the customers, which is PD will be the more advantageous for the firm A, and whereas DP will be more disadvantageous for the firm A. Okay, so this was about the reaction 2. Now let us see what will happen in reaction 3. Reaction 3 is more relevant as per the market. It says when firm A raises its price and the rival firms do not follow, then firm A loses a part of its market share to the rival firms. That means when firm A is increasing the prices, the other three firms B, C, D are not increasing their prices. They are keeping the prices same. So because of this, the firm A will lose its customers to B, C and D firms. So because of this, the relevant demand curve for firm A will be DP, which was the first part in the second reaction. Okay, so this is the on this curve DP, the firm A will find itself when it increases the prices and the other firms do not increase because there is a competition. Okay, but when firm A decreases its price, the rival firms react by cutting down their own prices by an equal amount or even more. Okay, that means if firm A reduces the prices, keeping in mind the competition, the firm B, C and D also reduces their prices by equal amount, or it may happen sometimes they'll reduce the price even more to catch more of the customers from firm A. So because of this, the curve which they will move will be the second part of the reaction 1, that is PN curve. Okay, so the combination of the two curves in reaction 3 will be DP curve and PN curve. So this will be a kind of a DPN curve in the reaction 3 of the King demand curve. So if we observe here, this is not a straight curve definitely. We are having a kink at this point P, which is rotating. Okay, so at point P, we are having a kink. So that's the reason this is called as a King demand curve. Well, this from the exam perspective, if King demand curve model comes, this is the final answer you can write. Okay, so but if you remember from the module 3, we have we have drawn the average revenue, marginal cost. So if we try to implement all those things in King demand curve, let's see what happens. So this is our two axis. This is our origin. This is our point P at equilibrium. This is our MN curve. This is our D dash curve. And we are having our DP and PN curve. So DPN is our King demand curve. And we have PQ as the point, or the line rather, in which it signifies that PQ is the price of the product which the company needs to keep, and OQ is the quantity of the products the all the firms need to manufacture. Because, and if you can observe, there are two demand curves here. MN is one demand curve, D dash is another demand curve. Okay, we can consider this demand curve as the average revenue or the AR curves. So if you remember in the previous graph also, in the monopolistic competition graph, we have drawn AR and MR. So if you observe D dash, if we consider this as the AR curve, the MR curve will have more slope, or the maximum or the double the slope of the D dash curve. So we will have MR curve starting from D and going all the way like this. Okay, like this. So we will be having the MR curve as DJ. So DJ up till the point J we will be having. I'll explain why. So DJ is the MR curve which will correspond to D dash, or rather DP, as the average revenue curve. Okay, so this is our DJ is our marginal revenue. And if we consider MN as the marginal, the average revenue, then we'll also have a marginal revenue which will start from M and go all the way down here. Okay, so we are not going to make it from here, but rather we'll start it from here, as a relevant average revenue curve is starts from P and ends at N. So PN curve can be considered as the average revenue here. So our marginal revenue will be KL. Okay, so we are getting the net marginal revenue as DJKL curve, and the gap which is between J and K, this corresponds to our marginal costs, which starts from MC1 and goes till MCN. So if we consider DJ and the point at point J, this is the marginal revenue, and the MCN is the marginal cost curve. So when marginal revenue and marginal cost are meeting here at point J, this is the point at which I need to stop the production. This is the maximum quantity I can manufacture. I cannot go more than Q. Similarly, this is proven here at point K. Okay, this is the marginal revenue. Okay, and this is the marginal cost, MC1. So at this point again I'm having an equilibrium. So this PQ represents the equilibrium quantity, and PQ, which is the line which represents the equilibrium quantity, which is Q, and equilibrium price as P. So for all the firms, all the four firms, if we need to calculate the equilibrium quantity or the maximum quantity they can produce in order to don't have any loss and get try to maximize their profit, is OQ. Okay, which is rotating here now. Okay, so OQ is the maximum quantity and PQ is the maximum price, and at P we are having a kink. So this is all about the kink demand curve. Okay, so this is what about the kink demand curve model is, and I hope you liked this and understood this. So thank you for listening.